The Abon people preceded my arrival on this world by thousands upon thousands of years, and I think it's more than time that I start to read their Codex Quadrivium. So, in the following logs, I'm going to be reading the Codex Quadrivium in its entirety. I think there's a lot we can learn about the Abon, who they were, and possibly where we're going. The Codex Quadrivium, Book 1, the Book of Origins. In the beginning was silence, and the silence was unbroken. And from the silence came a question, and the question burned through the dark. There were two ships in the void, the black goat and the shepherd. Each bore within it the seed of wonder and ruin. Their captains, one wise in seeking, the other in sacrifice, did stretch forth their hands and unstop the sealed vessel. Within that vessel was matter unshaped, not dark nor light, but that which binds both, the shaping core. They called it not by name, for the name would shatter tongue and tear the mind from flesh. And they brought it near to star and bade it sing, and the star did answer. And there came upon them a flare of such brightness as had never been. And the firmament was changed. The angles of space bent into rightness, and the laws of the old universe were broken and made square. What was once curve became corner. What was once flux became form. And the world was remade in measure and module, everything according to kind and code. Thus began the first turning, and the singularity was come upon them. Chapter 2. The Great Ship's Voyage. Now the black goat and the shepherd were cast adrift upon the tide of new-formed laws. And they saw that they were encircled by the singularity, a sphere of perfect limit, from which no thought nor thing could pass unscathed. And the captains communed with their kin and said, "We must break the circle, lest we vanish with it." So they made a vessel of desperate purpose, forged with fire and encoded with the last unbent numbers. And the vessel was launched upon the edge of the bubble, and the edge did not yield. But time itself did, and the vessel was hurled backward through the lattice of days. As it passed the bounds of known light, it shattered, and from it came pods of men. And each pod bore a sleeper, and each sleeper was cast into a different aeon. The nearer the casting to the time of launch, the closer to the end of days they would emerge, and the ship itself was lost, and with it the last unshaped fire. Thus were men scattered, and none among them knew the shape of the whole. Chapter 3. The Scattering of Men. Then did the sleepers wake, and they found themselves in worlds made square and strange. Some woke upon lands of stone and stream, other within skies that burned without sun. They sought one another, but the sky gave no sign, and the sea bore no message. They tilled soil that was foreign, and they built with blocks not their own. And they said, "Let us endure, though we remember not from whence we came." And some among them dreamed of doors that led to before, and of voices that whispered in the language of stars. But the dreams passed like wind through lattice, and only echoes remained. One rose up who remembered more than most, and he wrote upon the stone the things half seen. And thus were the first lines of the Codex made. Chapter 4. The First World. Upon one world did the sleepers gather, and they found it good. They tamed beast and field, and they built cities of stone and wood. And among them was one called Thaan, first of voices. He stood upon the mountain and called out, and others gathered. From him sprang the first tongue, and by that tongue were tools named and laws spoken. And the people called themselves Odrim, meaning those who awaken. The Odrim made fire, and fire gave them metal, and metal gave them strength. They made compacts with one another and raised towers to mark the heavens. And they remembered the sky vessel dimly, calling it womb of the star mothers. And one said, "Shall we not return?" And another said, "We are already returned, though the world be changed." Chapter 5, The Division. As the Odrim grew in number and craft, their hearts grew divided. Some prized the shaping of stone and the delving of deep places. These became the Hume. Some followed winds and streams, mapping the world and naming what they found. These became the Unmoored. Some held fast to fire and law, seeking to weigh every deed. These became the Bound. And some turned inward, listening to the quiet earth and the spaces between voice and voice. These became the Hallowed. And though they all came from one tongue, they began to speak in riddles and dialects. Their towers became walls, and their compacts were writ on separate stones. Yet none dared cast out the Codex, for it was the memory of before. And one among them, a woman of flame and clay, bore a child who spoke not for 3 years, but when he spoke, he named every tribe and called them kin. Chapter 6, The Child and the Fire. The child's name was Avaran, and his voice was like still water over stone. He spoke not often, but when he did, the wind seemed to hold its breath. He walked among the tribes and listened long before he answered. To the hewn, he spoke of stars beneath the ground. To the unmoored, he sang a song they had not yet written. To the bound, he whispered the measure of mercy. And to the hallowed, he gave a name they had not spoken since the first turning. Many believed he was the fifth, the one foretold by none but remembered by all. And so the people came together in the high place, and Avaran stood among them. He said, "The fire remembers, the silence speaks, and the fifth shall not be alone." Chapter 7, The Suppression. But not all rejoiced at the child's words. Among the bound were scribes and elders who feared change more than loss. They said, "What is not written cannot be trusted. What is not measured cannot be followed." They took the Codex and rewrote parts in secret, sealing away verses they could not weigh. They forbade the naming of the fifth, saying there is no such number. Avaran was summoned to the Council of Rule and questioned for 7 days. On the 8th he departed in silence, leaving behind his sandals and a scroll of ash. The bound declared him lost, and none were to speak his name, but among the hallowed the name was carved into stone, deep beneath the roots of an unmarked tree. Chapter 9, Avaran Descends. Avaran walked alone for a season of shadows. He came to a place where the skies split and the stars fell inward. There he found a cave not made by hands, its entrance shaped like a broken ring. He entered and the silence welcomed him. Within was a chamber of polished stone, and in its center a basin of black light. Avaran looked into it, and it into him. He saw the first turning, the rise of the Odrim, and the sundering to come. And the light said, "Speak." And Avaran said, "Let the truth be hidden only where the brave shall seek it." And then the light drew him in, and he was no longer flesh. Chapter 9, Rising. And from that day no man saw Avaran in form, and yet some heard his voice in the deep places, in dreams or in the turning of leaves. The hallowed began to gather where the ring-shaped cave once stood, and in the days that followed, one among them, a woman of no name, spoke with a voice not her own. She told of things not yet come and of things long buried. She called herself Oracle, and her eyes saw fire and stars alike. The tribes came to her, though few believed. She spoke of a coming second fire, not one of sun but of soul, and she warned, if the fifth is lost, the Codex shall burn unseen. The bound called her false, the hallowed called her home. Chapter 10, The Binding of Myth. Generations passed, and the memory of the child became legend. The Codex was copied and split, some scrolls kept, others hidden. Each tribe wrote its own account, and the truths grew in number. Yet, deep beneath an unmarked tree, the stones remained. On it were inscribed the 10 chapters, the beginning of all, and in time a keeper came to read the stone and knew the voice. He copied it anew and called it the Codex Quadrivium, the Book of 4 Paths. And it was said, in the beginning there were questions, not answers. In the shaping there was loss. But what is lost may yet be named again. And thus ended the Book of Origins.